So we will jump back to 4.01 in the agenda. Our last agenda item is negotiations with employee association. The board will now break to move to the seminar room to meet an executive session. At the conclusion of the executive session, at approximately 9 p.m., the board will reconvene an open session in the seminar room to adjourn our meeting if necessary. Discussion. Is there a motion to move into executive session?
I move that the Board of Education move into executive session to discuss contract negotiations with district employee associations pursuant to Colorado Revised Statute 24-6-402E.
Is there a second?
I would second that.
Discussion. Ms. Fellman?
After the district filed the appeal in the 2090 Wright Street matter, the very strong legal advice from Kaplan and Ernest was to continue the appeal. However, 3 members of this board determined that advice was not valid. At no time during that discussion did Mr. Miller warn this board that failure to take legal advice from the district's legal counsel could expose board members to personal liability. Today, Mr. Miller sent a message to me and others telling me that if individual board members do not take his legal advice in connection with contract negotiation, those board members might face legal liability. I'm not a lawyer, and I don't intend to get into a legal argument with Mr. Miller, but I am concerned that when 3 board members have a policy matter they wish to pursue, like giving away a district asset worth over $500,000, Mr. Miller felt fine with the board ignoring legal advice about the case. When the board majority insists on holding executive sessions, which in my opinion are not appropriate, I get an email message from Mr. Miller telling me I may be personally liable if I don't take his legal advice. So, it appears to be fine to ignore legal advice if that accomplishes a policy goal of the board, but we create individual board liability if we don't take legal advice. Mr. Miller may or may not be correct, but I have serious concerns. Given the inconsistency nature of his advice, I believe I need to seek personal legal counsel, and I'm willing to do that. So before I can vote to move into executive session, I will be seeking my own individual representation.
Further discussion? Roll call.
Ms. Kemper?
No.
Ms. Fellman?
No.
Mr. Newkirk?
Yes.
Ms. Williams?
Yes.
Mr. Witt?
Yes. We are not in executive session, so we will have extremely limited discussion in terms of negotiation today. We already have budget guidance with an $11.7 million placeholder for compensation increases. And the line items that are in that. We are at impasse at this point as declared by the JCEA. So at this point, the next steps at impasse, I believe, are to choose a mediator and to move forward with that discussion. Ms. White.
Thank you. So when we met last time, there was a correct request from the board to get a letter from JCEA about what it would take to get back to the open bargaining table. So I believe you all had a copy of that, and one of the first things we wanted to talk about tonight was the board's intent around that letter. In the letter, JCEA was clear that what they wanted from the board was a contract extension to be able to go back to the open table.
A contract extension of 3 years.
Correct.
In negotiations, JCEA requested a contract extension of 1 year. When asked what it would take to come back to the table, they said they want a contract extension of 3 years. Is there anyone on this board that would make a motion? We are already at impasse. The motion would be to end impasse and grant a 3-year contract extension.
Mr. Wood?
Mr. You've heard.
Before we go any further, Board Secretary, I'd like to remind the board that we received legal advice on the scope of what we are recommended to, that we may discuss in the non-executive session. Those include procedural matters, factual updates, materials and communications from the JCEA, and updates on state findings and legislative. So anything that goes beyond that scope, I think we should probably refer to our legal counsel. And the unfortunate results of the last session that did not go into executive session. Portions of a confidential memo, however, inadvertently, nevertheless, were disclosed to the general public. Slides were projected on the screen that were videotaped, that were confidential work product, and were nevertheless broadcast on YouTube several hours later. Most importantly, I think, though, that we didn't get our work done. So I would be very cautious that we don't make the same mistakes in this session. And again, let us defer to legal counsel before we go forward with anything that might be considered confidential.
Yes. So I heard no motion concerning the JCEA request. Therefore, we are in impasse. And I believe you already have guidance on the budget numbers, and you already have guidance from our prior executive sessions on general boundaries for negotiation. And at this point, I'm not willing to go into any other negotiation discussion. Ms. Alkins?
Well, I think we also need to be clear that each one of us brings different perspectives to the board table. And I think that one of the things we discussed in open session during our last meeting was interest, and I will speak for myself, at looking at a 2.5% salary increase specifically. And I want to be clear that this board has given different guidance, but I want to ensure that I am on the record regarding that particular issue. And that reflects 4 years of no salary increases by employees at Jefferson County School District. And there is nothing confidential. There's nothing that needs to be hidden. That's how that is my perspective on the income piece. These are employees who weathered very tough financial storms with us and how to protect the budget. So I would like to share my perspective this evening on that issue.
Any other comments?